A man from Seattle had dedicated his life to helping young people as a supervisor in the juvenile probation department. His work was more than just a job, it was a calling. He often said he would work until the day he died, never realizing how prophetic those words would become. On May 5, 2006, his life changed in ways he never could have predicted. It all began with a kidney stone, something he had dealt with before, but this time was different. This time, the pain was more intense, and there was a sense of foreboding in the air. He decided to go to the emergency room, where the doctors diagnosed him with not only kidney stones but also a severe kidney infection. The doctors were concerned, but they didn't realize the gravity of the situation at first. They proceeded with surgery to break up the stones, a procedure he had undergone before. However, as the surgery progressed, things began to go terribly wrong. The infection spread rapidly, leading to sepsis and eventually multiple organ failure. His body was shutting down, and the medical team fought desperately to save him, but after an hour and 45 minutes, he was clinically dead. During this time, something incredible happened. Though his body lay lifeless on the operating table, his spirit experienced something extraordinary. As a Christian, he had always believed in the afterlife, but nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to encounter. He later described the sensation of leaving his body, as though he were floating above the hospital, watching the doctors work frantically below. He felt no fear, no anxiety, only peace. He continued to rise, passing through the hospital, then the sky, and finally outer space at an incredible speed. There was no sense of time or distance, only the feeling that he was being drawn towards something wonderful. He knew without a doubt that he was on his way to heaven. As he approached the gates of heaven, he was overwhelmed with a sense of belonging. It felt as though everything around him was alive with a divine energy, from the trees to the flowers, all of them radiating a welcome like nothing he had ever experienced on earth. There was no fear or sadness, only joy and peace. The beauty of heaven surpassed anything he had ever imagined. Colors were more vibrant, the air seemed filled with life, and the sense of love and acceptance was overwhelming. His greatest wish, throughout his life, had been to meet Jesus. Now, that wish was coming true. As he stood before Jesus, he was filled with an overwhelming sense of love and gratitude. He described Jesus' presence as pure love, radiating forgiveness, acceptance, and compassion. When their eyes met, the man felt as though he could see into the depths of Jesus' heart, a heart filled with infinite love for all people. In that moment, he understood that when Jesus forgives, he forgives completely. There is no room for guilt, shame, or doubt in the presence of such love. But then, something unexpected happened. Jesus looked at him with gentle eyes and said, "No, it's not your time. Go back." The man was confused. He didn't want to leave this place of pure joy and love. But there was no arguing with Jesus. His time on earth was not yet finished. Even though he didn't want to leave, he accepted Jesus' command. As he flew back toward earth, he felt at peace, knowing that his time would come again, and he would one day return to this heavenly home. On his way back, he caught glimpses of the world below, the mountains, the rivers, all more vibrant and alive than anything he had ever seen before. The beauty of creation was breathtaking. He also saw his family in heaven, including his beloved grandmother, who had passed away years earlier. She smiled at him and spoke words that would stick with him for the rest of his life. "Bring as many of us back with you as you can." Her message was clear: his mission was not over. He still had work to do on earth, helping others find their way to salvation. Back in the hospital, the medical team was in shock. After being clinically dead for nearly 2 hours, the man's heart suddenly started beating again. They couldn't believe their eyes. His return to his body was jarring, to say the least. The peace and beauty of heaven were replaced by the harsh lights and chaotic sounds of the hospital. Physically, he was weak and drained, but spiritually, he felt renewed. His experience had given him a new purpose in life. He now understood, more than ever, the importance of loving others and sharing God's love with the world. The memory of heaven stayed with him, not just as a distant dream but as a living reality that colored everything he did from that moment on. He described heaven as a place where everything, even things that don't move, seem to have their own energy and life. The trees, the flowers, even the air seemed to hum with the presence of God. There was no decay, no imperfection, just pure beauty and peace. One of the most incredible moments during his time in heaven was when Jesus shared knowledge with him, not through words, but through a deep spiritual understanding. In an instant, he knew things about God, life, and the universe that he had never known before. It was as though the mysteries of creation had been opened up to him, not in a way that could be easily explained, but in a way that made perfect sense at the time. Although much of this knowledge faded when he returned to his earthly body, the essence of it stayed with him. He learned about the immense love that God has for all people, a love greater than he had ever imagined. He also gained insights into eternity, the importance of the choices we make on earth, and the reality of spiritual battles that take place beyond what we can see. His view of death changed dramatically. Before, death had always seemed like an ending, something to be feared or avoided. But now, he understood it as a doorway to something far more beautiful. Death was not an end, but a transition into a life that was fuller, richer, and more real than anything on earth. He no longer feared death. In fact, he looked forward to the day when he could return to heaven. But for now, he knew that God had a purpose for him on earth. Time on earth began to seem short compared to the eternity that awaited him in heaven. The struggles and challenges of life, while still difficult, no longer felt overwhelming. He had seen the bigger picture, and it changed his perspective on everything. Each moment on earth became more precious, not because it was all there was, but because it was a gift, a brief opportunity to make an eternal impact. One of the most surprising things he encountered in heaven was seeing unexpected people there. People he had never thought would make it to heaven were there, basking in God's love. This changed his view. His relationships with his family became even more precious after his experience. He understood that the bonds we form on earth have eternal significance. The love we share with our family and friends doesn't end when we die, it continues into eternity. In heaven, he had felt completely welcomed and accepted. On earth, he had often felt out of place, like he didn't quite belong. But in heaven, all of those feelings vanished. He was home, and the love he felt there left a lasting impact on him. His view of his own body also changed. Before, he had been concerned with his physical appearance, like most people are. But now, he understood that the body is just a temporary vessel for the spirit. In heaven, he felt more like his true self than he ever had on earth. He realized that our physical bodies, while important, are not who we truly are. What matters is the spirit, the part of us that lives on forever. In heaven, everyone shared the same joy and love, united in worship of God. Returning to earth was difficult. Heaven was so beautiful, so full of love and peace, that leaving it felt like a loss. But he knew he had a mission to complete on earth. Worship, which had always been an important part of his life, became even more meaningful after his experience. He worshipped with a joy and love that came straight from the memory of heaven. Each time he prayed, he felt a connection to that heavenly place, a reminder of the love that awaited him. After his return to earth, his view on life and work shifted dramatically. He no longer saw his job as just a way to earn a living. Instead, every task became an opportunity to bring a little bit of heaven to earth. Whether he was helping a troubled youth, spending time with his family, or simply going about his daily routine, he did everything with love and joy. He became more thoughtful about how he used his time and resources, knowing that each moment was a gift from God. He also learned the importance of prayer. While he didn't see specific prayers being answered in a dramatic way, he felt that God was closely involved in every aspect of his life. This realization made him value prayer even more. Prayer became a lifeline to God, a way to stay connected to the divine even when things got tough. His new mission became clear: to share his story of heaven and to remind people of the love and joy that await them. This wasn't about scaring people into believing, but about offering them a glimpse of the beauty and peace that they could experience through a relationship with Jesus. He felt compelled to live in a way that reflected the love and grace he had experienced in heaven, treating others with kindness and compassion, knowing that each person he encountered was precious in God's eyes. The man's journey didn't just change him, it also impacted those around him. His family and friends noticed a difference in him after his experience. He became more patient, more loving, and more at peace with the world. Even when faced with challenges, he remained steadfast in his faith, trusting that God was with him every step of the way.